Hello everyone, my name is Jesse. I'm from Blockbase. Blockbase is a crypto media operating in China. So thanks so much for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. So let's just get started. You guys want to do a brief introduction about yourself?
Thank you. Hey everyone, my name is Edward. I help lead growth strategy at the Pyth Data Association. I contribute to the Pyth Network. Thank you for coming to our event. The Pyth Network is a blockchain oracle. We send the prices of different assets to all your favorite blockchains and all your favorite DeFi applications.
Hello everyone, I'm Alex. I'm the founder of Wombat Exchange, and we actually are the only single-sided deposit cross-chain and multi-chain DEX in crypto. Difference between us is actually we invented the algorithm ourselves, and obviously we're powered by Pyth and Wormhole. Excited to be here.
Hey everyone, I'm Abhay Kumar. I'm the CEO of the Helium Foundation. Helium's a decentralized wireless network. We are now built on Solana. Just migrated to Solana about a year ago, actually next week. We use Pyth quite a bit, and excited to chat.
Hi everyone, this is Vince from ZK-Link, one of the co-founders. We're building the first aggregated rollup solution based on zero-knowledge proofs. And we address the interoperability problem from different angles, right? We're working with Pyth on the price fees, and also we want to explore ways to work with Wormhole as well. And we are aggregator of layer 2 rollups. And also we have another platform called ZK-Link X, which is to connect the different layer 1 and layer 2s, unifying the assets and liquidity flow with zero-knowledge proofs.
Hi everyone, I'm Ali. I'm the founder of Magpie Protocol. We're a cross-chain liquidity aggregator. We allow users to execute any asset swaps across all of the chains, and we're powered by Wormhole, primarily using the cross-chain messaging protocol. So excited to speak.
Okay, thanks everyone for the introduction. Welcome to Hong Kong. I hope you guys will have a good one here. So let's move to the part 2. Okay, question 1. 3 question marks in a row, so get ready guys. With the increasing number of blockchain platforms and projects, how do you view the development of multi-chain ecosystems? What role do you play in them? In such ecosystem, what role does interoperability play?
Yeah, that's a fascinating question. You know, I was on another Twitter space the other day where a guy told me he genuinely believed in the existence of L100s one day in the future. And he was quite serious. But the joke was they were doing rollups as a service, and it seems that everyone out there may end up having a use for having their own app chain or having their own rollup, right? We at the Pyth Network, we try to be neutral about this and let the future play out to whatever makes sense. We of course have our own app chain. We have PythNet, which is how we aggregate data and send it to every blockchain out there. What's interesting is that if these other applications are going to also have their own app chains or have their own rollups, they're going to need another Oracle deployment. So it's our job to make sure that they can continue getting access to the same price data that you'd find on any other Pyth-supported chain. This is important for having seamless access to all the markets you care about, no matter where in DeFi you're operating from.
So as Wombat, we actually use wormhole messaging to send messages across chains, and I think because since we're actually currently on 7, almost 8, soon 10 different chains, there is a huge kind of a culture with every single chain out there. Like I think Avalanche has their own kind of culture, Barrachain obviously, and Polygon and all that kind of stuff, and I think building on different chains is something, it's pretty special, and it's tough. And obviously thanks to Pyth and Wormhole being able to bridge all that coming together. And how I view in the future, I think like Ed said, I think there's going to be tons of app chains. There's going to be tons of L1, L2, L3, L4s, so on. And I think it's inevitable because everyone wants to be a part of a culture, and building that's what people want to build on. And I think that's in the future, I see probably 1,000 different chains, but hopefully, thankfully, we have Pyth and Wormhole to kind of connect them all.
All right, I'll say the other side of this. So Helium launched in 2019 as our own L1. We built our own consensus. We built our own DKG. We built our own everything. And it made sense at the time. At the time, there weren't really great tools to do this. Solana really didn't exist. Ethereum was too expensive. Running a Bitcoin miner on a radio on your roof seemed like a terrible idea. Like these are, didn't really make sense at the time. So we built our own chain. I'm really glad I don't have to carry a pager for an L1. I don't want to deal with block production. I don't want to deal with anything. I like building wireless networks, and that's what I care about. We moved to Solana a year ago because I'd rather totally carry that pager, like really simply. Now, the other advantage of this for us is that we get to use tools that use Solana, like PythNet. It's an SVM fork. It's awesome. Like it gives us all the price feed stuff that we need. We had to implement our own price feeds on our L1. If we had kept going there, we would have had to continue to implement all the DeFi stuff, all the messaging stuff, everything, at least on our side, right? Like even if you have things like Wormhole. So I'm glad to not be on our own chain. I'm very, very happy that I get to like build radios and get people to sign up for cell phone plans. Like that's what we're here for.
From our perspective, we think that the multi-chain thesis is no longer a thesis, it has become a reality. The first panel here we have seen is successful and quickly emerging new layer ones, and some already been built for a while, and Solana is already very successful and is continuing to grow. And we are very bullish on the outer layer ones, as we are very bullish also on the Ethereum layer 2 and layer 3s. There's just different pathways to scale. Right? You can scale layer 1 using vertically, or you can scale using layered scaling solutions, layer 2, layer 3. People are starting to imagine layer 4, so I don't know if that's necessary. There are already many layer 1 and layer 2s on the market, and this creates the challenge, or this imposes the primitive needed for interoperability, and this also causes this pressing issue of fragmentation of user experience, of liquidities, and interoperability is the next big thing. I don't think the market has fully realized or priced in on the interoperability sector, and what we're doing here is to try to simplify developer experience as well as the user experience, and also without introducing additional trust assumptions or components. That is the reason why we're using zero-knowledge proofs. Is completely trustless, and if we're able to do that, and we also will be able to inherit some of this important security characteristics from the major layer ones, especially from Ethereum, and we're working also on Bitcoin's, the native execution layer using ZK. If we be able to find a way to recombine and reconnect the liquidities that is fragmented today on so many different layer 1, layer 2s, this will capture a lot of value and propose a lot of value to the users as well. So we're bullish on multi-chain ecosystem. I don't think this is still a hypothesis or a thesis, is already the reality that we're facing day to day. Users, I don't think any user is just sticking to one chain. I think most of us have tokens, assets, and using applications from different chains.
Well, this panel is going to sound like an echo chamber, but I kind of agree with most of the thoughts shared by the folks. Man. Our thesis is that the future is multi-chain, or the future is kind of here with the number of chains that are out there. There will be hundreds, if not thousands, of layer 2s, layer 1s, and the issue that comes with that is fragmentation of liquidity, and that's where interoperability solutions really come in. What we do at Magpie is cross-chain liquidity aggregation, so we allow people to move these assets, move value, leveraging Wormhole that allows to move data and value as well. And so multi-chain apps is really where things get interesting. There will be apps that are specific to different ecosystems, and they will need the ability to access other ecosystems, or the consumers will need the same. And so yeah, I do believe in a multi-chain future, and I think that these interoperability solutions are essential in enabling that kind of user experience where people might not even know what kind of chain that they're using in the back, but yeah, they're able to access all of the protocols, all of the services that exist in different chains. So super bullish on the multi-chain future and the importance of interoperability solutions in this.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for sharing the insights. Let's move to the next question. It's about DeFi. Since the last cycle, DeFi has become one of the most important tracks in the Web3 field. How do you think DeFi projects can benefit from enhanced Interoperability. What role does interoperability play in promoting cross-chain liquidity and financial service innovation?
That's a great question. I think it boils down to liquidity. And I think the reason we say this is because when we talk about fragmentation between other DeFi protocols, what we really mean is, well, I have funds on this one platform, and I would like for this platform, firstly, to compose to this other platform. I want to move funds to the other platform to do something else interesting very quickly. Right now, it's still kind of a pain. Bridging is, the UX with bridging is still kind of getting there, and not all applications have access to the same, for example, price feed or data infrastructure that they would on one chain versus another. This is a common pain point for a lot of DeFi users, and I think it's also kind of what leads to a lot of tribalism currently between a lot of the blockchains. But I think this is going to be a relic of the past. I think we're going to move very far past this, and soon it's going to be about having superior DeFi applications where no one really knows what chain it's on or what's happening in the back end, because it won't matter. All of this should be abstracted away completely in the end state. At least that's the vision I share personally.
I agree. So Wombat has been doing a lot of cross-chain stuff, and thanks to, obviously, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself, but thanks to Pyth and Wormhole, we're able to deploy on a lot of different chains really fast. And that actually has a few benefits because of our speed of an ability to deploy on very similar things that we are used to. We're able to capture a lot of the market share. So total, I think Wombat has done $4 billion in trading volume just on pegged assets. We don't trade ETH, we just trade USDT pairs and USDC pairs. And really because of that really picked up, because after we left BNB chain, went to Arbitrum, Avalanche, and we were able to go on these different chains when they're really kind of hyped, that kind of stuff, was really because how easy it was to deploy. And I think that interoperability and DeFi, if you want to success, like I mentioned, different chains have different cultures, and if you're able to attract them and get to know them and get them commute into your dApp or whatever you're building, I think that's really powerful, and that's how DeFi protocols especially can scale at large.
I'll skip this one since I'm not a DeFi protocol.
There are two platforms that we're building. One is to unify layer 1s and the layer 2s, trying to combine liquidities across different layer 1s, which is more challenging because this needs to introduce an Oracle network or a third party to oversee these messages being passed. This messaging services is necessary, no matter if you use ZK or not. So the ZK bridges is still not completely trustless. They can just only do a part of the job. And then the second platform that we're building, which is ZK Nova, it's a platform to unify layer 2s. So it stays within Ethereum. So it completely inherits the security from Ethereum mainnet layer 1. And our current focus is actually on this platform. The reason is because that we're seeing this issue of DeFi within Ethereum's ecosystem. Up to today, there's still the majority of DeFi applications are still on EVM platforms, right? Across the so many layer 2s, Arbitrum is being very active in DeFi, and there's quickly emerging Base and Blast, and also some ZK layer 2s is getting more users. Still very small in TVLs, and they're creating day-to-day the pressing issue of liquidity fragmentation. And our thesis is to aggregate them, to reconnect those liquidities and have them in one unified user interface. Well, of course, you can do that with Wombat, right? You can do that with Asset Bridge. We're doing this a little bit differently. So we, first of all, aggregate these assets and liquidities on a unified layer, which is ZK Event Platform 2, and then have the dApps deployed on our network, and then they will have direct access to those assets native. So it's native interoperability of the assets. You can pair different tokens from different layer 2 chains, of course, including the Ethereum layer 1. And we have been doing that right now. We're integrated with 10 different layer 2s. And the Ethereum layer 1, about 400 million TVL, 80 different tokens. And we are seeing some lending protocols, AMMs, and those DeFi protocols on our network, and this will provide a new types of user experience where you do not need to bridge, because we did the bridge part for you. We did the bridge part using the canonical ZK rollup bridge, which is completely trustless. And the harder part is actually to attract the TVL first. And we would do this job, and the applications come over, they can directly access the liquidity and assets here, and they create new use cases like an Indian market with 10 different assets from 10 different networks. So you can use your backs from different chains to borrow and lend on the same marketplace without limits on the liquidity, because you don't have to do the bridge. The bridge part is already done for you. We will track the TVLs using our incentives, and then there's also another perp. And it's kind of a new DeFi product. We call this aggregated DeFi. On this perp market, you will be able to use your 10 tokens from Layer 2, for example, ARP, OP, MNT, Stark. All those tokens are right now, it's just sitting there. And you can use, imagine a perp protocol allows you to use that to trade on ETH, to bet long or short, or some other stuff options, using those as collaterals. So this will will greatly enhance your capital efficiency and your assets utilization rate. So we're hoping to say that application builders will, together with us, will provide a new user experience on DeFi, which is to enhance the capital efficiency. And I think this is a gap between DeFi and CeFi. CeFi offers you great user experience and great capital efficiency. Right, you can do high frequency trading, you can maximize, and you have cross margin, performing margin on CEX, but you don't have that on DeFi yet. But very soon we will have. And having those assets natively aggregated and done by us, and then the application builders just focus on the product and the free features, and they need to manage the risks properly and the liquidation. For this, we need a high performance Oracle price feeds like Pyth, and also, of course, we will also need third-party faster bridges because the rollup bridges is not fast enough. Unfortunately, this is the reality, and the rollups, especially OP rollups, still take 7 days for you to exit your funds, which is totally very painful for traders, and especially for those who want to move very quickly on chain. And so faster bridges is still be needed. But you can have like the majority of the funds going through the rollup bridge, which is safer, widely believed to be safer than compared with the third-party bridges. But if you have a smaller proportion of your liquidities you want to exit, and you can still use like Wombat or other faster bridges. And yeah, so I think DeFi we are very bullish on DeFi long term. I think the DeFi 2.0 will come back very soon.
I kind of lost track of what the question was, so I'll keep this short. I think it was about DeFi, multi-chain, and how interoperability plays a role. So being multi-chain, the future is multi-chain of DeFi. There's different ecosystems. There will be different primitives of DeFi protocols that will exist in different L1s and L2s, and maybe there will be newer ones that are not based off of EVM. Regardless, interoperability is essential to these DeFi protocols, because the protocols that are able to allow users to move asset, move value seamlessly without knowing what's happening at the back is something that will probably in many ways dictate who does better and who doesn't. And so just abstracting away the complexity of moving assets or moving value or moving data is something that is going to be essential in attracting liquidity, in attracting consumers. And so just simplifying all of this is what interoperability is all about. Protocols like ours do the same. We allow people to move assets. We aggregate messaging protocols to allow data transfer as well. So yeah, interoperability essential for DeFi.
All right, thanks guys. Okay, next question is about collaboration and integration. So we got teams from we got guys from different teams come to here. We got guys in the back chit chat with each other. So it's all about collaboration and integration maybe. So the question is, how do you choose solution for such collaboration or integration to achieve the interoperability, like for different projects, right? So what factors do you consider most important in the selection or process?
Yeah, so in the marketplace of solutions, that is the DeFi users and the third-party providers of different infra, it all boils down to what value proposition is the DeFi protocol trying to achieve. What we find is that, for example, perpetual futures in the DeFi space really need extremely low latency data and high frequency updates. This allows them to properly calculate funding rates, liquidate people where necessary, all that stuff. So we found that Pyth network, for example, is extremely good for those kinds of use cases. So naturally, we tend to talk to a lot of purpose protocols on top of structured products. Less so borrow lending, but it's not impossible, right? It really depends on, what are you currently offering and who does it attract to most? And obviously there's iteration between both parties, but I think in the marketplace of ideas, everyone kind of converges to getting to where they need to be as long as the appropriate infra is there. I know it's not a very interesting answer, but I think that these simple kinds of things tend to trend out over time.
In DeFi, or I guess a lot of blockchains, the biggest feature and the best feature is to not get hacked. I think once you get hacked, is obviously you can recover, but it's very hard. The other thing is teams. You want to work with the teams that can stick around and be there with you through the hard times. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone here has been through the bear market. It sucks. People have left. And if they left, you probably don't want to work with them because they're not probably going to stick around with you if something bad happens. And I think that's one of the things. So if, when you look for collaborations, you always want to look for people that, that are, willing to tough it out with you. People that are not afraid to fail. And if they do, let's figure out a way to fix it. And to me, that is probably one of the main things. But at the end of the day, I think one of the things is like reputation. It's something you built over time. Wormhole and Pyth have been, everyone has gone through, rough times, but you guys have picked it up. And to me, that's the most valuable thing when you choose people to work with, that they're going to stick with you if something goes down. And
yeah, I think like when you're thinking about tools, like, I mean, I'm an engineer and I'm lazy. All engineers are. Like, we want to use other tools that people have built so that you don't have to build it over again, right? But like lazy is like relative, right? Like obviously we work on the things that we're working on, and we want to do the best thing with a very, very small amount of scope as possible. So obviously we're going to use other products that are out there, other tools that are out there. When you're in an ecosystem, you look for other teams that are building in a similar way as you are, as you said, right? Like are building for the long run, like are building tools that you can, maybe audit on your own. You sort of trust that there are folks that are actually looking at this code base. You also look for a lot of open source contributions and the ability to actually I think a really good example of this happened recently where there was a team out there that wanted us to look at their offering, and the first person that came and talked to me was like someone on the BD side, which is fine. But when I asked for like, I don't know, just a couple of lines of code that I can mess around with, like they're like, well, we gotta get on a call. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like I'll like send me the GitHub. Like I'll just go look there instead. Like it's a lot faster. And I can make a decision, kind of more quickly. And these days I'm not allowed to write a lot of software anymore. I get yelled at. I'm supposed to come to these things and talk to people. But like even now, like it's just a lot easier to be able to look at software, look at the stuff that you're building, look at the way that you're building it. And then after that it becomes, the social side matters. So I think that's what I look for when I'm collaborating with teams. Like, what's the stuff that you put out there? Who's sort of attested that the stuff that you're building is great? Like, who are the audit teams that you're working with? And then, how's that stuff scaling over time? I think with scaling, it really is around, it's about credibility. Like, cool, like you have something built in a lab that, works at 10,000 TPS, like great. Like what does it look like when someone is mining ore on Solana right now? Like that's the stuff that matters, right? So how does it actually credibly scale?
Collaboration is very important for crypto space, especially for DeFi, because composability is all DeFi about, right? And we try not to build everything our own. We try to maximize and leverage other people's work when something is already been built, and it's great if we can directly use other people and collaborate with other people. And for example, we also work with third-party bridges. Although we're building a rollups and chains aggregator, and that's because it provides user experience and for certain needs, it satisfies users' needs on different levels, right? We're aiming to solve the problem like in long term, and also using the rollable bridges is to serve like the larger capitals and the funds that are not quite convenient yet for the asset bridges. And also we work with most of the layer 1s and the layer 2s, and also we try to keep our eyes open and outside the Ethereum ecosystem. Although I'm pretty much like ESMAXis, like you know these Solana folks. I see that people have ESMAXis. I think I'm one of them. What we're building because zero knowledge proofs is something that is where like started in the. I'm not sure if this is correct, but yeah, I think a lot of ZK builders are still pretty focused on Ethereum. We are one of the teams to build on Solana. We had open sourced the first ZKP verifier contract in 2022. Grow 16 is a light algo, so it does not require large computer budgets. But we actually are using Plonk, Ultra Plonk, so it requires unfortunately the bigger computer budget than Solana. What can Solana offer at the time? So, but we were ready to go back to Solana to connect Solana with the ETH ecosystem using ZKPs. I think today there are other teams doing similar stuff, but when we did it, we're like the one and only team doing that, and we're one of the first teams to work on non-ETH ecosystem layer 1s using ZK. And today we are still exploring ways to connect the ETH ecosystem with Cosmos, with Move. Solana, of course, is definitely on the top of our list. And yeah, so collaboration is very important, and ETH builders should not just look at the ETH ecosystem, and also collaborate with the new layer 1s, have different value propositions, and in total, then the space can grow faster. And yeah, composability is very important.
So collaboration, I'll share an example with you guys. When we started working on this project about 2 years ago, we were looking at cross-chain messaging protocols that were actually functional on production, battle tested, and at the time Wormhole was the only protocol that had cross-chain messaging functional. And so the things that we look at is two. One, the tech itself, is it there? Is it something that you can actually use and has value? And second is the people. And so the moment we had the first conversation with Wormhole, which was primarily like a technical discussion about how we want to leverage cross-chain messaging, the excitement that they had that what you guys are working on is very interesting, it's new, and the support that comes from it is what really drives collaboration. So typically you look for number one, the tech, is it there? Is it something that fulfills your needs? And second, the people behind it, and whether or not you guys share similar values and a similar mission or an idea of the future. And that's what we found with Wormhole. And moving forward with the project, looking at other chains to deploy on, again, as a business, you look at where's the opportunity where you can drive the most users, where you can drive the most value for the consumers. And so yeah, I think when it comes to collaboration and having worked with Wormhole for over 2 years, being one of the early adopters, leveraging cross-chain messaging, we're quite pleased with the approach that we took, and really excited about what we've got lined up next.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's go to the last one. It's about the future. What do you think about the future?
Thank you.
Okay. So look ahead. What new opportunities and challenges do you think interoperability will face in promoting the development and adoption of Web3 technology? How does your project plan to address those future trends?
Does this microphone? Okay, it does work. So there's that one meme where someone says, oh gosh, look at all these different standards. This is so fragmented. I'm going to invent a new standard, unify everything, and now instead of 16 standards, there are 17 standards. A lot of people are very aware that fragmentation is something to resolve, and I think there's a number of ways to get there. But I think back to the early internet days, the desktop browser wars. I think there's going to be something kind of equivalent to that, right? We have to figure out what the standards are for abstracting away all the complexity we see in DeFi. Which bridge are you going to use? Which data oracle are you going to use? I think these are all fine questions, and competition is very healthy. But reaching that equilibrium point, I think, is going to be interesting as we all converge towards figuring out what the rest of the world is going to converge to, or which solutions the world is going to converge to.
To be honest, we rely a lot on Wormhole, so we try not to kind of abstract away from that from us, so we can just focus on doing all the marketing and all the math stuff now. But I think moving forward as an industry as a whole, security has always been something that's plagued cross-chain protocols, all of them. I think we've been in crypto long enough that every cross-chain protocol that we've ever used, every tried, has probably been hacked. And this has been very detrimental because we've always been using so many cross-chain things, because the reality is the world has, and all the users want to be where it's hot, where it's cool. But at the same time, obviously they're comfortable with their main chain, that they want to come back and forth. So I think for the interoperability for everything, for the multi-chain kind of thing to grow, is really, I kind of keep repeating it, but I think security. I think there is nothing more important than having secure things where people trust. And when people trust you, I think eventually they'll come and start building and start using that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my main thing. I always have a question mark in terms of that. But I think the Wormhole team and the Pyth team have always, they place a lot of importance on security now. So I think I feel a lot more safe, and yeah.
Yeah. So when I think about the people that use our protocol, it's still pretty small, relatively speaking. I think we have anywhere around 100 to 250,000 active wallets that are people that are using or deploying hotspots. They have cell phone coverage through Helium or things like that, and that's just tiny. Right. The things that we're building, and hopefully that we're building as an ecosystem in general, should be we should think about things at the human scale. That's billions of people, and whatever anyone says, there's not a single blockchain that'll work for that yet. That just doesn't exist, and that's okay. That's not a knock on any ecosystem. It's really just a realization of where we are in our ecosystem. We're very small. I think the important thing that most people in the world care about are just go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's a basic set of things. I need food, I need water, and I would argue these days that we want access to the internet, which is why we're working on that stuff. When we're thinking about the future, we should be building products that abstract away the sort of complexities of the chain. So I think, to your point, the security thing matters. To a lot of folks, privacy matters, but all of these things should be sort of abstracted away, and ultimately the user experiences, for most people, my mom wants to just pay a credit card for her cell phone bill. She doesn't want to think about the fact that someone somewhere needs to take those US dollars, convert that to HNT, that HNT needs to burn to data credits, happen to be using a Pyth Oracle while it's doing that. She doesn't care, and no one really cares about that stuff, and that's at scale, our product should abstract away these complexities, but give them the efficiencies that are available to them because of the fact that we're building these things. Why is capital efficiency important? Because it creates more liquid markets, it creates more access, and it creates more opportunity for products to be built on top of it. Why does a decentralized wireless network matter? It's because it aligns incentives of deploying coverage so that, yes, there is coverage in, the end of a farm road somewhere, and also next to, Oracle Park or something like that in San Francisco, right? These things matter, and sort of efficiencies matter because it creates more products that people want to use. And none of those people are going to be thinking about what chain this is running on. They just want access. That's ultimately what we should be thinking about in the future.
I want to add a little bit more on the topic of security, because in our view, I think security is still the most important thing when it, comes to interoperability. This space is probably the most dangerous space. The most of the hackers are, they are very fond of interspace, right? There's a lot of funds, and there's complexities, there's codes. they could exploit. And I think this is where the zero-knowledge proof technology can play a bigger part when it comes to security. It is validity proof that mathematically provable, and instead of placing trust on multi-sigs or something else, I think ZK can ensure a higher level of trustless security. We're still in the beginning of the journey. There's a lot of teams building ZK solutions to address to the security problem of interoperability, and I think the Wormhole also is building something using ZK. Yeah, I think this is where the industry is advancing too. This is I think we're bullish on too.
The way I see it, building DeFi primitives and DeFi or cross-chain is in many ways trial by fire. You're sort of experimenting in some ways, and you try to account for different kind of possibilities, but things happen, and so security is a major concern, which will continue to be because you deploy a cross-chain app, the complexities that exist within it are plenty. But I do think that as an ecosystem, we're probably going to come together with specific standards with cross-chain messaging. There's different ways you can propagate cross-chain messages. I personally am a fan of how Wormhole does it, where you share data across one chain and it's accessible across different chains, which allows for a lot more use cases, which is not the case with some others. When you think of token standards, something that we're excited about is the NTT, which is like a multi-chain token standard that's coming out, and so there might be a few others. I do think that we're, as a community, as an ecosystem, we're going to start laser focusing on specific standards that have proven their worth over time, but the path to get there might be riddled with hacks, might be riddled with exploits. So yeah, that's what I think will be the challenges, but at the end of the day, interoperability was a narrative, I think, like 2018, 19, during the Cosmos days. But practically now is when we're seeing things happen in production. There are cross-chain solutions, there are apps that abstract away some of the complexities, but there's still a long way to go. We've got account abstraction that we can leverage. We can simplify the overall experience users have, almost like a Web2-esque experience, but with the security or privacy, whatever the user values. That's what we're going to see, and I'm super psyched.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us. I think this is the end of panel 2 discussion.